All right, so you guys know I almost never do this, only when it's about videos that have to do with money because authenticity is important. I would not believe someone talking about money unless I saw the proof. So this is year to date, as you can see, January 1st to today's date, March 19th. That's about 10 weeks. And there it is right there, okay? Just so that you guys know. And this is just the Stripe, so not including PayPal or any other, form of payment, okay? So again, I'm not doing that for any other purpose but authenticity. We will start the video here. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in. Another vlog style video. As you can see, my Airbnb is still a mess because I'm packing and I'm moving and I'm going to the Dominican Republic, this time just for vacation, but I'm planning on spending most of the year there. But anyway, that's for a future conversation. So forgive me for the mess, but what it takes to make $50,000 in a really short time, what it takes to manifest $50,000, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But yeah, I'm going to the gym, so let's go to the car and we'll keep talking. All right, so let's talk about it. I just finished my workout. Manifesting a lot of money it's a challenging thing for a lot of people because there's a couple of different layers to it. First, you got to figure out like what the equation looks like, how much, you got to be really clear on the numbers. How much do you want to make a month or a year? And what does that look like in terms of how you price your offering and how many of those things you have to sell? And so that's the first place you got to start. Get clear on the numbers. Very first thing. Whatever your number is, don't put any limits on it. What do you want to make? And then from there, map out a few different options in terms of your pricing. This is for business owners, and people who are starting side hustles. Map out your pricing and then the number of times you have to sell something or number of products or whatever it is, courses, whatever it is that you have to sell in order to hit the number. Okay, so just map a few of them out. Now, if it's a number that you've never hit before, like $10,000 a month, I remember thinking that it was so far away because it's far away from what you're used to, right? The last job I ever worked was for Apple support. If you watch my previous videos, you know that. And I was making like $2,000 a month. No, that's a lie. It was more like $2,500 to $3,000 a month. And that is very far away from $10,000 a month. Like that's a 4X, right? And so I'm looking at side hustles and stuff like that at the time. And I'm like, okay, well, I can charge $50, but then I have to sell 2,000 of them. I think that's the math in order to make $10,000 a month. And then I could sell one thing for $10,000, or I can sell two things for $5,000. And so pick the one that, makes most sense for you, but they probably won't feel right. Or there will be some doubt, there'll be a lot of doubt and questioning as to, can you do it, right? And so this is where the second layer comes in. This is the most important piece, is if you have never made, let's say $10,000 a month, it feels like it's all the way up here, like way at the top of the shelf. You gotta climb on the counter or get a ladder to possibly be able to reach it until you do it. And then it just feels like it's within reach because money represents, it looks like money, it looks like numbers on paper, but it really represents who you have to become and what you have to do. And so if you want to make $10,000 a month, for example, looking at my old self, I realized that there's a very real reason why I wasn't making that. It's because it would require me to do certain things or to become a certain person that I was at that point. And that is okay. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. There's a lot of doubt, and that is okay. That means you're starting to question the boundaries of where you're operating in. And that's the first step, right? Is to question, is this all that it's going to be? Is this enough? And when you start to question, that is step one. That's phase one. Because now you realize just the mere act of questioning if you're satisfied with where you are and can you do it, right? Those doubts that creep in is a good thing, because you're realizing that now you're at the limits of the shell that you've put on yourself. And let me say one thing that is so true, and it's cliche and it goes over most people's heads. They hear it, but they don't internalize it. The only limits we have are the ones we place on ourselves, period. And there's a version of you that has no limiting beliefs about what's possible. And so this is when I was like, why can't I charge $5,000 or $10,000 for one thing? Why can't I? And I just started asking myself, and I realized there was no real reason why I could not. Sure, some people would think it's overpriced. Sure, I would think, there would be a part of me that would think it's overpriced, but that's all rooted in an insecurity that you are not good enough to charge that kind of money. And so money is a very real indicator of people's level of self-esteem. Just because the way money is positioned and prioritized in our society, it's a pretty accurate indicator as to people's self-esteem. Look at how much they make, or look at how much they are willing to charge, and that'll tell you, where their self-esteem is at 9 times out of 10. It usually tells a pretty complete picture. And, so I started questioning those things, right? And so that is when I started saying, you know what, I am worth $10,000 a month, or I am worth $20,000 a month, or I am worth $30,000 a month. And I can charge, $5,000 for an hour of my time. I can, because I'm that valuable. You have to start imagining and looking at the world like a child, almost like a blissful ignorance when it comes to how you make money. And what happens is, when you start to convince yourself of that, when you start to believe that, then it will resonate. When you truly believe in that, and you have to act at a certain point, like you have to play the role, but it'll very quickly internalize. And that confidence, that self-belief, other people will sense it and believe it. And what happens is, you'll also be more inclined to provide that much value to people as well, right? And they will appreciate it, right? They will appreciate it, because people who pay you a lot of money for a service will treat you a lot better and will be a lot more receptive to it than people who pay you next to nothing, like for cheap service, right? So that's a very real thing that you're definitely going to want to consider, right? So making a lot of money, it feels really, really out of reach, but it's not. It's right here. It's right here. And it's not you have to climbing a mountain. You just have to sidestep. Meaning just act. Believe as though you've done it already. That's one thing I started doing that helped me a lot, which is really self-hypnosis, is I just started believing that I've done it already, right? And that made it a lot easier, and the way you talk begins to change, so on and so forth. But there's a few different things that I want to, in terms of character traits, that I want to iron out that were responsible for me making a lot more money very quickly. Number one is sense of urgency. Money loves speed. People pay for speed. They pay for quick results. But also, money comes to the person who grabs it, who snatches it, who takes it first. And that person is always in front of people's faces. They're online every day. They're posting. They're very quick to respond. All of these things. Money loves speed. So sense of urgency. And to increase my sense of urgency, I started thinking about the fact that we really don't have time. Like any day, God forbid, could be our last day, right? I think about how much I want to help my family out, my mom, my dad, the people around me, the people who have helped me. There are parts of life that I want to see before I go. And we don't know when we're going to go, right? You can have the desires you want. You can have the desired reality you want right now. You can. And so the question you got to ask yourself, and you got to be truthful in your answer, is, do you want it now or later? And most people don't want it right now. Most people just don't want it right now. And that is just a fundamental truth of reality. But if you want it right now, you can have it. You can take it. But this means you're going to have to become unstoppable. And how you do that is by not stopping yourself, because the only person who's stopping you is yourself. You're smart enough. You are capable enough. The way you communicate is perfect. The way you see the world is perfect. You just need to stop acting as the unfinished product and the victim and start acting as the coach. Start acting as the final product, because when you act in a way long enough, you become the thing. When you act, and this is so crazy, but it's so true and so powerful, when you act as the person you want to become for long enough, you become the person. When you act confident for long enough, you become confident. When you act focused for long enough, you become focused. And that's what happened with me. So a sense of urgency, number one. Number two, I realized that there's a very, very small percentage of things that actually matter in our lives and what we're doing in our day-to-day basis, right? And the only things that really mattered to me, like, I drew out a really simple plan. And sometimes the plan doesn't work, but the plan is always intuitive. It's the plan that you think is going to work. And I was like, okay, well, the only things that I really need to do are let people know I exist, solve their problem, and then provide the solution, right? And so I'm like, okay, so what are the things that I need to do that? Make it really simple for yourself, right? It's easier to focus when there's less things to focus on. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I just have to start posting massive amounts of content and get really good at my craft, but really post massive amounts of content so that people know I exist. That matters because people cannot pay you the money you want unless they can find you, unless they know you exist. So that became number two, on top of, or in parallel with a sense of urgency, right? Is focusing on the things that matter and letting people know I exist. And in 2024, there's only so many ways to do that. There's like 3 or 4. There's word of mouth, there's paid ads, right? And there's organic content. And then there's cold calling and direct outreach. And if you're not going to cold call, be honest with yourself. If you're not going to cold call businesses or people, and you don't have money to run paid ads, and you don't have a proof of what you do, so you can't rely on word of mouth, well, then you're going to need to post content. You're going to need to post organic content. That is just 2024. That's just a reality of things. And it's a good thing. Content is king, because when you post content, it's like clones of yourself. It starts to do the work for you. It starts to sell for you, right? People are finding out about me from posts that I made months ago, weeks ago, days ago, right? Their first introductions to me. It's like a catalog that keeps growing and keeps expanding. But I just had to focus on what matters. And this is the tough part, because there's an information overload with all of these social media platforms, the internet and YouTube, right? And you realize, like, thank God for screen time. You realize how much time you waste just scrolling. And it's by design. They want to keep you there. They want to keep you on their platform, scrolling mindlessly like a zombie. If you replaced this phone with a pack of cigarettes and you just realize how many times you take it and how much time you spend scrolling on it, it's insane. You'd realize that, okay, this is definitely a textbook addiction. And it's by design. They have full-on marketing specialists and data scientists, mathematicians behind these platforms designing it so that you never get off. And that you voluntarily and willingly stay on. And what happens when you're on there is you're just comparing yourself to other people. It's modern day slavery. It's a modern day addiction. This is the Matrix in the fullest, right? And I want you guys to see that. And the greatest act of empowerment is to turn the screen off and write down what matters to you. What activities matter to you? How do you want to define yourself as? A person of what? A person of focus, discipline, urgency? Define. And so I had to define what mattered to me and who I wanted to become, how I wanted to show up in the world, right? And then number 3, I had to accept that this was never going to be comfortable, that I'd probably always feel like an imposter. I'd probably always have imposter syndrome. I would probably always have imposter syndrome. And that is okay. I just got to do it anyway, right? And there are, the biggest thing that holds people back and that held me back for the first 25, 26, 27 years of my life was, what would my family think? What would my friends think? And then I realized that I had had that mentality for 2.5 decades, and it didn't provide me any results. I was still broke. So I had to make a change if I wanted to see the other side of life. If I wanted to bless my mom and my dad and put them in a better position, I had to make a choice and do it anyway. And the way that worked for me, and I've said this multiple times, is I unfollowed everyone, so I stopped seeing them on my feed, so therefore I could no longer compare myself to these people. I made a new account that nobody knew about, and I made on a new platform on TikTok and on Instagram a new account, and I just started posting, and I didn't tell anyone until the numbers started going up, and then they found out about it on their own. And then the conversation became, hey, I saw you on Instagram, you're really doing your thing, how can I help? Rather than you have a nice business idea and you want to start explaining it to people, right? Because then you're just allowing them to project their own insecurities onto you, and they haven't done what you're trying to do. They haven't walked the path that you're trying to walk. So that's like you're shooting yourself in the foot from the start. You've already lost by doing that. So it's crazy, but and you'd agree that you know exactly what you need to do, or you know exactly who you are and what you're capable of. We just keep going down the wrong routes. You keep going down the wrong routes. And I'm urging you, I'm begging you to trust yourself. What does that mean? Just do the thing before telling anyone, right? You're always going to feel like an imposter. It's always going to feel scary. So now let's just jump. Let's just jump in the water. Let's just jump in the cold water. The pool, the water in the pool is always going to be cold. Let's just do it, man. Let's just jump in. Because we know that on the other side is glory. That there's a few seconds of shock and discomfort, but then it gets better. It gets easier, right? It gets easier. And then you're moving. 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 posts later, you look back and you realize, holy smokes, I'm in this thing now. I'm moving. We have momentum. That happens really quickly when you start to trust yourself. So trust yourself. The toughest thing for a lot of people is they say they want to make a quantum leap in their life, right? But they don't want to let go of what they think is possible to make room for the new. The reason why we are where we are in our lives is because of the beliefs we hold as to what's possible for our lives. So when we say we want to make a quantum leap into a new realm of income or a new realm of relationships or health or whatever it is, fitness, well, that means we're going to have to be ready to let go of what we think is possible. It's going to mean we have to acknowledge that there's more to this thing we call life, that there's more to what's possible for our income, for our relationships. You have to admit that, and that is the first step. Because there's no improvement if you try and hold on to where you are and you try and hold on to your beliefs. You have to admit to yourself that you don't have the right beliefs. Because if you did, you'd be where you need to be. You don't have the right beliefs about what's possible. And I had to start there. And it's interesting that, we often defend the very beliefs that limit us. Why? Because they make us feel safe. It's because that's what we're used to. And reaching a new level of income means playing in an uncomfortable space for a while. And this will mean that, there might be a lack of stability. There might be turbulence. There might be relationships that have meant a lot to us that will falter, or that will have to readjust because of who we need to become. To make more money, you need to become more focused. You need to become more selfish in how you budget your time and how you allocate your time. You won't be going out as much. You won't be seeing people often enough. And those relationships will have to readjust. And a lot of people don't want to go through that. And that was one of the things that held me back for the longest time. And then the realization occurred that the relationships that matter most, since that's what we're touching on right now, and the people that matter most will always be there when we're ready, and they will support that growth. They will support that journey. And that's the hallmark of a healthy relationship, is how people react when you are focused on yourself. And if they're the right people, they're likely focused on themselves too. But that is the thing that holds most people back. It's, they defend the beliefs that they need certain people, or that they want to preserve things. You cannot make progress while trying to preserve things. I will say, when you change your income, everything about your life is going to change on the way to that. There's no other way for this to happen, unless you just win the lottery. But even then, everything changes. You making more money is just a byproduct of you becoming a better, more refined version of yourself, a more focused version of yourself. The money is the byproduct of that, right? So whenever I look at making more money, and I have my milestones that I still have yet to achieve, I don't think of it as money. I think of who I have to become in order to hit that milestone. And that's what I would ask you to consider, is who do you have to become to hit your financial milestone? And go with the intuitive answer. Go with the answer that comes up. And I'll make this a hypnosis as well that I'll post on Instagram. But who do you have to become? Because you'll get there. You'll get the money, but then you'll realize once you get there, or hopefully along the way, that it was never about the money. It was who you had to become in the process. And when you make that the focus, the money will come, and it will come again, and it will come again, and it will come again. And that is why I said, like, the $10,000 a month for me is right here. I'll probably never make less than $10,000 a month, because I know how to do it, because I know it's about who I have to be. And I know when I'm off track, when I stop doing certain things, when I start letting myself go, right? If I stop posting, or if I stop focusing on making my clients happy, and I start being very self-centered, I know that that's not in alignment with the lifestyle I want, right? So don't focus so much on the money. I know that's tough given the nature of what we're talking about, the title of the video and all this stuff, but it's a little counterintuitive for most people. Focus on who you have to be. What traits do you need? And it's different traits for different people. So this is why I say go with your gut, go with your intuition. Whatever your intuition tells you, trust that and lean into it. There's a reason why that comes up for you. Whether it's you have to become a more urgent person, whether you have to become a more focused person, a more disciplined person, well, now you have some sort of direction, and you must take steps every day in that direction. And if this is not the game you want to play, if that's too hard for you, if you want to procrastinate, okay, that's fine. That is okay. No one's going to force you, no one's going to drag you, but the compromise is, well, you have to be okay with the life that you have. You can't keep complaining about it, right? And that's something that you have to consider, right? I was talking to my dad about this when we were grabbing lunch a couple of weekends ago. There's a reason why you don't have the money that you want, and that is okay. And don't see that as a bad thing or a challenge. See it as an invitation, because the blessings are always here. The blessings, the money we want, the desires, the cars, the money, relationships, the houses, the travel, the lifestyle, it's all right here. You can't see it, but it's really right here. You just have to be that person, right? And the money will come as a lagging indicator. Like it'll come when it's time, and it'll come quickly the more aligned you are with those actions and with being that person, and the more conviction you have when you do these things, right? The more belief you have, right? And yeah, it's going to take some acting, guys, because how else are you going to do it, right? Hypnosis will speed it up, absolutely, and having a coach in your corner, a high performance coach, will speed it up, absolutely, but who do you have to become? Think about it that way. because otherwise you're never going to be able to solve that equation. Like you'll see it on paper. You'll know you'll have to sell, 100 items or products at, what's the number, at $100 each, whatever the math is, to make $10,000. Like you'll see it on paper, but there's a reason why you think it's out of reach. And you should ask yourself why. And if the answer is, oh, well, you're not good enough, that's a lie, and you know it is. If the answer is, it's probably rooted in fear. Anything and everything we do, every action, every thought, every habit is rooted in love or fear. Those are the only two fundamental yin and yang elements of humanity. It's love and fear. And fear is simply the absence of love, right? So there's no real, there's no real, it's the absence of, I shouldn't say that. Fear is fear, right? But you can consciously decide the direction you want to move in, I would hope, right? And I just decided one day to stop telling myself all these lies about that I wasn't good enough and stuff like that. And it becomes easier when you surround yourself with people who have high self-esteem, which is why you should join the Master Manifestors Collective, by the way. But I just decided to start believing in myself. Even if I didn't, I just decided to do so because not believing in myself clearly wasn't bringing me any results, right? I hate the corporate world. I hate, working for someone else. I hate someone telling me when I can and can't go on vacation or how many sick days I'm allowed to have before I stop getting paid. That's insane. It's insane, right? And, that's not the life I want. So I'm willing to go through the ups and downs in order to be able to set my own income, in order to be able to travel when I want and work from anywhere else in the world. Like that stuff matters to me, And there's going to be sacrifices that you have to make. Nothing comes without sacrifice, right? And on another note, I was talking to a client about this today in a coaching call. You will make a lot more progress, a lot more faster when you start doing less. Because 80% of the things that we do on a daily basis, I promise you, do not matter. They don't, right? We're filling our days with pleasure-seeking activities and, again, the scrolling and the dopamine. And none of that stuff is taking us to where we want to get. The people who make very substantial and fast progress, they do a small amount of really impactful things every day. A small amount of really impactful activities, whether it's meditation, whether it's posting content, like they just do the very small amount of things that actually matter, and they spend as much time on those things, right? And I would urge you to audit your life and audit your calendar a lot. Do it often. That's probably going to be my next video. We'll see. Let me write that down. Audit your life. That's important because it's so easy. They made it so easy for us to just give away our most precious resource, which is time. The one thing you cannot get back, time, right? And auditing your life, auditing your calendar, auditing your day-to-day, look at what you've done every day at the end of the day. Did you do enough? Probably not. And if you just, I promise you, 1 hour, 60 minutes, set a timer of focused work every day. In 7 days, you will achieve more than most people achieve in 6 months. In 7 days. That is how distracted people are. That is how caught in the matrix, in the whirlwind of dopamine people are. And that is how easy it is to succeed. But I don't want you to think of making more money as you have to climb up a mountain. No, there's no uphill journey. Because that implies that you are not enough and that you have to build yourself up into something more. It's not that. You gotta go around it. You gotta go around the mountain. You gotta sidestep, meaning you just gotta sidestep into a sense of urgency sidestep into discipline, sidestep into focus, sidestep into adopting the traits that you believe, not the ones that I say, the ones that you believe will take you there. Because there's a reason why those beliefs come up for you. It's because they're the ones that are going to work for you on your journey, right? There's no one size fits all. And so a lot of these videos and the underlying tone of my work is just to get you to trust yourself again. Because for some reason, a reason that you probably can't put together, a reason that probably doesn't make sense, for some reason at some point along the way you decided to stop trusting yourself, and that's when everything went to shit, right? For no reason, and just trust yourself for a day and see what happens. Trust yourself for a week and see what happens. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have anybody to tell me when I'm doing things right or doing things wrong. I just know when a client or when people don't decide not to, like when I get no sales, I know I did something wrong, or you know what I mean? Like I bear the brunt of everything, and that is okay, but because I also reap the rewards of everything. And so you got to pick a life that you want, but no one's going to audit your life for you. No one's going to pull you or drag you. No one can wave a magic wand or give you a magic solution. There's no magic to this thing. It's just self-belief and acting on that self-belief, right? And if you don't believe in yourself, I understand. I was there, but you got to get your act together. You got to start acting as though you're the shit. You got to act as though you believe in yourself. Just act, just pretend. Because I promise you, you'll start to believe in yourself real soon. Real soon. Anyway, today I launched the Master Manifestors Collective. If you've made it this far, I'm giving all my exclusive content to the folks in there. We're interacting. I'm showing people how to manifest their desires, their reality in the way that I have and continue to do. We have our first mastermind on Saturday, March the 30th. You should join. It's free for all the members in the collective, by the way. It's a monthly subscription, and it's for less than the price of a steak dinner. 30 days, join, watch what happens in terms of the transformation in your life. All right, guys. Apart from that, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Actually do that so that this video can reach people who need it. And yeah, guys, I'm going to keep bringing you videos. I'm going to try and do this every single day. See you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.